Hi, it's Cayman with SMB Tanks, and today we're going to be installing this 56-gallon SMB fuel tank on a 2015 Ford Powerstroke. This fits all 2011 to 2016 Ford crew cab short bed Powerstrokes. And first, if you already bought this SMB tank, you received a card. And when you get this card, simply take out your smartphone, go to your camera, and just hover over the picture. A link will pop up. Click the link, and it's going to take you to an install guide that's a lot more comprehensive than the video. It shows you step by step, and it's really hard to miss a step or screw something up if you're following along exactly. But the video that we're about to do is going to really help as well. So it'll give you a good overview of if you can do this install or not. And if you do have any questions during the install, give us a call, and we'd be glad to walk you through it. To go ahead for the required tools, you're going to need a mallet, a pry bar, a ratchet, an extension, a flathead screwdriver, a pick, a 13 mil, as well as a 19 mil. And we're going to get into the install right now. The first step is going to be pumping or siphoning the fuel out of your OEM tank. Today we drove the tank almost completely empty, so there's no need to pull out any more fuel. Next, we're going to lift the truck. Lift the truck on a rack to a safe working height. If you're using a 2-post lift, make sure that this area on the front is obstructed, since the SMB tank is going to be going below the frame.
Remove the hose clamps on the fuel filler hose as well as the fuel vent hose.
Next, you're going to want to remove the fuel filler hose as well as the fuel fin hose after you have the hose clamps loose. It's easy as if you grab and twist. Next step is going to be using your hydraulic transmission jack to bring it up to the bottom of the skid plate for easy removal. This isn't necessary, but it does make your life a little bit easier. Remove the bolts that are securing the skid plate to the frame, again with a 13 mil socket. Next step is going to be removing the OEM skid plate from the vehicle. You won't be needing this again. Next, you'll want to remove the bumper plate that's right about here. We don't have this on our truck. We've just lost it after we've installed the tank. Next, bring up the hydraulic transmission jack to the bottom of the OEM tank. There's four 13 mil bolts holding up the fuel tank straps. One right here, one on the inside on the drive shaft side, another one on the drive shaft side, then one here on the frame. Remove these, but before you remove them, make sure you have some kind of support underneath the tank. If you're on the ground, make sure you have a support, or if you're up, make sure you have a jack or something else underneath the tank. Next, lower the fuel tank about 6 inches or until you can reach the top of the fuel sending unit. After you brought down the tank approximately 6 inches, you're going to want to reach up here and feel around to see if you have enough clearance to access the electrical connection as well as the fuel fill and the fuel feed and the fuel return lines. Need to bring it down a little bit more. Be careful not to bring it down too much, as you might stretch those connectors. Next, we're going to disconnect the electrical connection from the fuel sending unit. You're going to want to slide out this red tab. Depress this button and wiggle off. And again, it's this button here, and you want to slide this tab out. Press and wiggle off. Next, we're going to remove the connectors for the fuel feed and return lines. Be patient, as this could be the
probably the hardest part of the install if they're on there tight or they don't want to come off. Slide out this bottom portion of the tab. Our connector's a little broken because we've done the install quite a bit, but you can see this part's out. Depress the tab on the top. Push down, wiggle. Make sure all three of these connectors are disconnected, as well as the fuel vent and fuel fill hoses on the back of the tank are also disconnected from the fuel filler neck. Then we can start removing the OEM tank. Again, make sure that those hoses on the back of the tank are free. Sometimes they like to get hung up.
As you'll notice, it looks like I changed clothes. We are using the first half of our installation video from before with our previous tank showing how to remove the fuel tank from the truck, and now we are going to begin installation of the 56-gallon SMB tank. To install the float's going to be installed after the fuel bucket is in the tank. So we're going to take our O-ring. You'll see the tag on here that says the O-ring must be used with an SMB tank. Make sure that you use the thicker O-ring. Put it in the O-ring groove. Make sure it's seated properly. And here's another good chance to check the tank to make sure that there's no foreign debris in the tank. So check it thoroughly, way more than I just did. Now install the bucket into the SMB tank. You'll see the arrow on the tank. Point the tab to the arrow. Then get the bucket. First, put the float into the tank and hold it off to the side. Then put the bucket in. And after the bucket is in the tank, this is where it gets a little tricky. You might want to get the camera right here where you can see that tab. You are going to lock it in to the holder, and I will show you. I'm going to lock it in right here. And you can see it locked in. And I'll pull it out of the tank real quick to show you again on how it locks in. So simply, you're going to pull your OEM float off the same way into that side in there and push down. So do that once the bucket's in the tank. After you have the bucket in the tank with the float installed, if your tank came with a shim, put the shim over the flange. So put some pressure down the locking ring, get it started underneath the tabs. Take your pry bar, and we are going to hit it clockwise. And make sure you come up close. I hit it clockwise, so it went this way. Make sure this part on the locking ring, so it's the indent coming out, make sure it goes past the indent going down on the SMB tank. So once it gets past there, it can't rotate back, so there's zero chance for the locking ring to come loose. So we got a good seal with the O-ring. Now we are going to test to make sure that it is a positive seal and there's zero chance for leaking around that O-ring. So we're going to puncture the cap included with the tank. I'm going to pull off this hose real quick. Spray the area with soapy water. Puncture the tank. So now we have compressed air. Then a partner of mine will come over and he's going to hold these two holes here where my two fingers are, as well as here, this part with his thumb, and I'm going to hold here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some pressure into the tank. There's not a set amount of pressure. Do it until you start seeing the tank walls separate. We're going to look for bubbles around here and listen for noises. You'll hear some air coming from here, and that's normal. The air you're hearing is just coming from this cap. Some significant amount of pressure in the tank, and there's no bubbles. What I would do right now is I would look around the tank or listen around the tank for any other holes, and everything looks good. And after the fill and the vent lines have been moved over from the OEM tank, we are going to use a zip tie to attach the rollover vent tube onto the filler tube. This just gets the water level up high and prevents any overfill of fuel. You can trim that so it looks good. And now we're ready to put the SMB tank up on the jack and get it installed into the tank. Before you put the tank up into place, we're going to put the U-bolt on. So it's going to come over here on the frame, and it needs to go over the body mount bracket. So you can see it coming across here. So it needs to be over the body mount bracket. And if you're having trouble getting it over the frame, you might need to tap it with the pry bar from the backside. So just stick your pry bar in there, then just hit it until it comes down into place. This kind of just depends on if your cab is sagged or not. So once this is into place, we will begin to put the tank into place. Next, we're going to flip the fuel feed and the fuel return line. So this whole silver line, we're going to move this one to the bottom and this one back to the top. So pop it out, you're going to need to pop it out back there. Then again, the yellow one's going to go to the bottom and the blue one's going to go to the top. Make sure no lines are pinched back there, and we're good to go. So center the tank on a jack. Now you can begin jacking the tank into place. Be careful on the rear to make sure that the fill and the vent lines go over the frame as well as in the front. Make sure that the U-bolt doesn't hit the tank before it gets into place. Then as soon as it's about 3 inches from the top, from hitting those cross members, we're going to reconnect our electrical connector, feed, as well as the return lines. Then after those are connected, we are going to jack it all up into place and put the straps on and get the tank into place. And when you're putting the tank into place, if you see any bolts coming down through the frame and you think they're going to hit the tank, we can either cut these off or push them off. In this case, the bolt looks close, but it's loose, and it's also not touching the tank, so I'm not going to do anything about that bolt. And there's no other bolts that would puncture the tank, but go ahead and look along the frame rail to see if there's anything that would puncture the tank, and if it's in the way, remove the bolt. Pushing the connectors and getting the electrical connector on might be hard. I'm going to show you how I do it. So even if there is, right now there's probably about 2 inches until the tank's all the way in place. And what I'm going to do is, here I'm on my exhaust side, I'm going over the drive shaft, and I'm snaking my arm up in there. So I'm just feeling, so I can feel the 2 connectors. I'm going to do the connector closest to the frame first. Push down on that one. Then I'm going to do the next one. Make sure I hear a click. Then pushing that tab at the bottom in as well. Then the electrical connector. And then making sure that we push the red tab on the electrical connector in after we push that in. All right, we're first going to install the rear strap. Our front strap, or our middle strap, is covered by the jack. So we're going to push this into place, and we are going to find the cage nut with the bolt and get it started. Then we are going to go to the driveline side and get that started as well. I wouldn't use, I would do it all by hand just so you don't break a cage nut. Now we're going to get the driveline strap started. So we're going to find our cage nut. And get this bolt started by hand. and we can torque those down. Now for the front support, you got your U-bolt already in position. Then the brace, press the brace through the U-bolts. Get a washer and a nut started on the front one. Then for the rear one, then with a 19 mil deep socket, secure them into place. And since the stand was on the middle part of the tank and covering the middle strap, we removed the stand, have our front and our rear straps secure, and now we're going to get our middle strap. Make sure that your cage nut doesn't come loose and is lined up. Then locate that cage nut and hole with the bolt and get that started by hand. Now for the frame side, locate the cage nut on that side. And get that bolt started. After the straps, we're going to reconnect that fill hose. And then tighten the hose clamp. After the fill hose, reconnect your vent line as well and tighten the hose clamp on that one. After you reinstall your hose clamp on your fill and your vent lines, the install is complete. Now is a good time to go and double check everything. So starting from the back, make sure both those bolts on the frame as well as the drive shaft side are torqued down. That bolt on the mid strap and the drive shaft is torqued down, as well as those two 19 millimeter bolts are torqued down. Then make sure that the connectors on the top of the tank are locked in place, as well as the electrical connector. And other than that, we're good to go. The last step on your install, if you want to recalibrate the distance to empty on your truck, we have a great service with EZLink. And so again, the fuel gauge is going to work, so the needle is still going to be accurate regardless if you change your distance to empty with EZLink. But the miles till empty, so showing 78 miles till empty, will not be right unless you use an EZLink device or a ForeScan to change that setting. EZLink is way easier and it's free with SMB, so definitely recommend doing it. So what happens is we send you the box in the mail. You get the EZLink, you plug it into the truck. So we plugged it into the OBD2 connector at the bottom, below the dash. You're going to go to your app store and you're going to search for Auto Agent. Make sure you select the first Auto Agent app, not the second one. So you select it, open. You're going to connect it to the truck, and so you'll need to select Auto Agent 2. Then when it comes up with the Wi-Fi to connect it to the truck, go to your settings. See, it's not popping up right away. Go to your settings and select EZLink. So it's connected to EZLink. Then go back to your Auto Agent app. Go to Vehicle, Diagnostics, Calibrate Fuel Tank Volume, Run. Right now it's at 26 gallons of stock tank, and we have 78 miles till empty. We're going to scroll down and change that to 56 gallons. Submit. The truck will restart. It says success. Now it's 166 miles till empty. So after that, everything's done with your installation. If you have any questions or trouble, please give us a call at 909-675-1313. Thanks for your time.